This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Mallon. With me is my buddy, Mark Souza. We have a lot to talk about in this day in sports. We have the Monday Night Football matchup between the Patriots and the Bills. We're also going to be doing NBA roundup, of each game that happened over the last 24 hours, I would say, or maybe more. Then we have to talk about some more of the Browns news, as Hugh Jackson has been fired, but we're going to talk about any head coaches that could possibly take the position, or any potential head coaches. And then we have some Real Madrid news, and some other important news we'll discuss if there is time. So now let's move on to the Monday Night Football matchup. Patriots and Bills. Tom Brady has some unbelievable stats against the Bills. He's beaten that team more than any other team. And it's not very much of a shocker since he's in the same division, but he has handled them pretty easily, if I do say so myself. And this game was no different. 25-6. The New England Patriots over the Buffalo Bills. So we were kind of close in our prediction.
Yeah.
I said 35, you said 31, and we both gave what? You gave them what? How many points to the Bills?
I think 13.
I gave them 10, so we both knew it was going to be some sort of blowout.
We knew it was going to be an ugly game, but I think that we thought that the Patriots' offense would be better. They were sluggish for most of the game. Give credit to the Bills' defense because they're actually a pretty good unit, but it's hard to win games. It's hard to stay in games when your offense is that terrible. And we saw it again last night with the Bills. Their defense puts in a great effort. They hold the Patriots down for pretty much 3 quarters, almost the entire game. And yet they come out with a loss because their offense just can't put together drives. They can't move the ball down the field. They can't score points. So it's a different week, same result for the Bills. Derek Anderson, he was terrible.
Surprising no one.
He even left the game hurt at the end, which just, of course he did. So,
how much do you think they wish had they Ryan Fitzpatrick back or Tyrod Taylor back right now?
You know, it's funny. Fitzpatrick and Tyrod Taylor are actually tied for second in Buffalo Bills history for most wins at their current stadium that's been open since 1996.
Okay, I was about to say maybe Jim Kelly has more wins in Buffalo, but the new stadium makes sense.
So in 1996, Fitzpatrick and Tyrod Taylor they're tied for second for most wins in that stadium. Do you know who's number one?
I'm going to guess Tom Brady.
He is.
Yep, that sounds about right. Probably around 15 wins.
I think it's about that, yeah. So he has more wins in that stadium than any Bills quarterback in history. And he only plays there once a year. And they all play there at least 8 times.
He's played there for how long? Like 2001, so 17 years?
Yeah.
He's only lost twice there, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think so. So isn't that incredible? They should just rename the stadium Tom Brady Field. What do you think?
Sure, why not?
So what were your thoughts of the game?
Well, we said it was going to be all Patriots, and it was right. The Bills didn't really seem like the Bills would put up much of a fight. Just, I feel like the team has felt down since losing Josh Allen, like with Peterman and what's his name?
Derek Anderson.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I forgot his name. So did everybody else before he got signed again. But the fact of the matter is, this team plays like they don't have a chance. Like they talk themselves into like, oh, we're not going to win this game.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the numbers. The numbers suggest that the Bills weren't that bad on offense. I mean, They had, 330 yards of offense. Their running game was pretty bad. They couldn't really do anything running the ball, but Derek Anderson throws for 290 yards on 39 attempts, and you're thinking, okay, that's not terrible. Like, that's pretty decent. But it just seems like it was a lot of empty yards in the second half. And then they have that one drive where at the end there in the fourth quarter where Derek Anderson probably got 50, 60 yards on that drive, and then he throws a pick six. So it's like empty yards.
And then Nathan Peterman actually had 2 passes himself.
And he didn't throw a pick six.
He threw 2 for 2 for 23 yards. That's probably his best performance ever.
And I'll say it again. Why are the Bills playing Derek Anderson? Like, give me one reason why.
Nathan Peterman.
I don't feel like that's an upgrade from Nathan Peterman.
Anything's an upgrade from Nathan Peterman.
Really?
Anything.
I mean, I think they're both terrible quarterbacks, but you might as well play the one that's
Bring
20.
Colt McCoy back or something.
You might as well play the one that's 23 instead of 35 and was retired until 2 weeks ago.
Well,
I just don't understand.
Anderson needs some money, so let's give him some money.
I just don't understand. If the Bills are rebuilding, why do they care about bringing an old quarterback out of retirement? That's what I don't understand.
His pyramid is that bad.
I understand that, but it's not like Allen's out for the year. He's only out for a couple weeks, and you did draft Nathan Peterman. Just play him, and if he continues to be that bad, okay, then Josh Allen comes back.
Dude, he already played that bad.
The Bills,
how many pick sixes?
The Bills scored 6 points yesterday. 6. I don't know.
You also got to look at like their other players. Like LeSean McCoy had 12 attempts, 13 yards.
Yeah, because nobody respects the pass.
He averaged 1.1 yards. And you look at, who had the most rushes attempts for the Patriots? Cordell Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
He had 10 attempts.
The Bills actually scored more points this week than they scored last week. They scored 5.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, you're right. I thought you were joking, but you're right. But I know the Patriots don't really have a running back that is a rusher. Like White is more of a receiver. He had 13 targets to him. He had 10 receptions, their wide receiver, and he only had 8 attempts rushing. Cordell Patterson had 10 attempts rushing for 38 yards. He had that one long 22-yard run. But now I think Patterson's basically their running back now.
You remember when the Bills beat the Vikings?
I don't recall.
Hey,
I think everyone but Bills fans don't recall that either.
Here's the total points the Buffalo Bills have scored in the last 5 games. Are you ready?
It's not gonna be good.
0, 13, 13, 5, and 6.
They only scored 13 points against the
Titans when they won.
What about the Vikings? Didn't they
No, since the Vikings.
Oh,
yeah.
since. Wait, they got shut out twice this season?
No, they only got shut out once.
Because I'm pretty sure they got shut out by the Ravens in week 1, right?
They scored 3.
They scored 3? Oh, wow.
But yes, they've had 4 games where they've scored 6 or less points. 4, Jeff.
Did you see that punt that Edelman didn't take in that I forget who was it
Then he hit the guy?
No. The guy was running. It was almost going into the end zone. The dude dove for the ball to get it out, and he missed it completely, and he just landed on his face.
I actually did not see that.
Yeah, I'll show you it. I'm showing you a video of it right now.
That is a very Buffalo Bills play, if I've ever seen one.
He misses it completely. It was bouncing on the 1 yard line.
Nathan Peterman playing special teams?
Probably. Yeah, but it was on the 1 yard line. He tried to, when players try to dive into the end zone and hit it, he missed it just completely. It was
a good effort, though. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know, man. I know you're going to say, and I know most people are going to say, Derek Anderson is playing because Peterman isn't good. But Derek Anderson isn't good either. That's the thing. I don't understand bringing a guy. I get it. He's familiar with Sean McDermott. I get the connection and all that, but
maybe he should sign Vince Young or Jamarcus Russell. He would play better.
I just feel like there are definitely things that they can do if they want to. If they're really serious about... So, here's the thing. If they're serious about winning, then go trade for a backup quarterback that's halfway decent, like Teddy Bridgewater or something, But if you don't care about winning...
But the thing is, the Saints will not get rid of Bridgewater because Breeze is at the end of his career.
You know what I mean, though. Like, there's other quality players on rosters that are not Derek Anderson or Nathan Peterman. So, I don't know. Give up a 5th-round pick for somebody's backup quarterback who they don't care for. I don't know.
I honestly can't think of anybody.
I just don't know the upside of playing Derek Anderson. If you're rebuilding and you don't care about losing games because you're getting a better draft pick, then play the young guy, because if you find out that Peterman isn't a decent player in this league, then you cut him and move on. I don't understand the point of burying him on the bench and playing Derek Anderson. But, well, we'll move on from that. So I wanted to talk to you about something that I noticed yesterday, something that one of the commentators said during the game.
Yes.
Gronkowski has 2 red zone targets this year. He's been healthy, and he's had 2 pass attempts his way in the red zone this season. What's up with that?
He's usually double covered in the red zone, isn't he not?
He's double covered every year.
Yeah.
So he still brings down a bunch of touchdowns and still gets a lot of targets.
Maybe it's more of a fact of the matter is don't go to the obvious. Like maybe you'll risk injury for him again because he's pretty injury prone.
Okay, but
I'm just trying to think of ways that this can make sense.
No, I get it. I'm with you. But if we go by that, they're trying to preserve him, then they wouldn't have played him last night, right? Because he came in already questionable.
I think he might have been very stubborn to play. He was like, I'm just going to play.
But still, he hasn't put up totals this year that we've seen. He's been very pedestrian for a tight end. He had 3 catches for 43 yards last night. He has 2 red zone targets on the season.
True.
Is he done? Is it more than he's double covered? Because, Jeff, you know he's been double covered for the last 6 years. Yeah, like every single time. And they still find a way to get him the ball in the red zone. So what do you say? Maybe all those injuries have piled up. I mean, he talked about possibly retiring last year.
Do you know when is his contract up soon? I'm assuming it is.
I'm not sure, but I'm kind of starting to lean that he's maybe just past his prime. Like maybe
I think he's been past his prime for a little bit now, to be honest.
But I mean, like
I'll look up his
numbers are. It's like coming. It's like a big drastic change than what we've expected. Of course, they have James White, and he had 10 catches for 79 yards last night. Julian Edelman, 9 catches for 104 yards. But still, it's Gronkowski. It's the Patriots offense. It's Tom Brady. We know that he's been a big part of that offense for many years.
He's an unrestricted free agent in 2020. He is on a 6-year, $54 million contract.
So he's got two more years.
Thanks to SpotTrack.com for the information. They have everything.
Yep.
Remember, he had that one game in Buffalo last year where he got fined $281,250.
That's a random number.
It's just what do you do? I think there's a certain algorithm to it.
Do you think it's possible though that he's just done? Like not done, like he can still help, but I mean like do you think it's possible that Gronkowski is an average NFL tight end from here on out? Like I just noticed a couple times yesterday that he runs routes and he just like he's not getting free, and it seems like he just runs in the defender and kind of stops. Like I don't know, he doesn't seem like himself. Like he seems like a shell of his former self. So, what do you think?
Yeah. Sometimes there's at one point in your career, injuries are going to catch up to you, and for Gronkowski, that might be the case.
So Buffalo falls with 2-6.
But he's still a top tight end. That's the thing.
I mean,
that's what I call. Like I see, I think he's still a tight end.
But at this point, you definitely put him behind Kelsey and Ertz, right?
Yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, like when you play the Patriots, you're always going to still look at him, even though with his injuries, and he's not looked at as often. But you're still going to pay attention to him because he can make plays in an instant.
He's a big guy. He's strong. So, but it kind of feels like right now is the first time that I could actually say that Kelsey and Ertz I would put over him. Like this is the first year that I'd say that. You know,
I think Kelsey's the best tight end in the NFL at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So,
I put even Kittle up there.
I mean, again, you look at the numbers, and Gronk really isn't producing.
But he's probably looked at highly like a Kelsey, but just Brady won't throw to him. I don't know. Maybe he knows it's going to be the end of Gronkowski and he's trying to make other players have a chemistry with.
Yeah, I mean, but he loves Gronk. Like, Gronk is his guy, you know? Like,
but he's, like he said, he's kind of broken.
He can still make plays. Like, I don't want to come off as like he can't be effective, but I mean, I think his role as being an X factor, his career as being an X factor type player might not be there anymore. So, I mean, Jeff, he has 29 catches through 8 games for 448 yards, and 1 touchdown. So the yardage totals aren't terrible, but we haven't seen a breakout game. We saw against Houston, he had over 100 yards. But other than that, I mean, you look at his stats, not the greatest. But speaking of stats...
Let me ask you something. This is actually an important question.
Sure.
Do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Even though he's been having like lackluster years?
I think that he made such a big impact, even if he retired tomorrow, that he would be a Hall of Famer because he was the best tight end in the NFL for, about 6 years?
Yeah, roughly.
I'd say that... He
was drafted in 2010 in the second round. So I wouldn't say his first year was great, but I would say from 2011 to now...
Ooh, I have a good question for you.
What?
If Gronkowski retired today, who would you rather put in who is more of a Hall of Famer? And yes, I understand that both of these guys can be Hall of Famers, but if you only had one vote, who would you make? Jason Witten or Rob Gronkowski?
Wait, say that question again.
If you only could put one of these players into the Hall of Fame, Witten or Gronk?
I gotta put Super Bowl rings into that factor.
Witten had a very long, successful career, but he was never probably the number one tight end in the NFL at the same time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Gronk. I also gotta look at like playoff success, and Jason Witten doesn't have that. He never had a chance to, granted.
And I think Witten's a great player, and he's had a long career, way longer than Gronk's, but Gronk was on the top of the mountain for too many years for me.
I'm going to put Gronk and Canton over Witten, but they're both going to be there.
Before we wrap up this segment, let's talk about the Bills, or the Patriots. They're 6-2 now. You remember at the beginning of the year, Jeff, when everybody was like, oh, what's wrong with the Patriots? Miami's off to a hot start. The Jets were off to a good start, and now look, 2-game lead over the Dolphins. It looks like the division's already over after 8 weeks when the Patriots start off so slow.
I think the fact of the matter is we talked about how the Patriots were not doing well this season and their reign was ending, and they hurt us and got angry and proved that they are not going anywhere for at least this year.
Are they the team to beat in the AFC?
And the best team in the AFC?
Are they the team to beat in the AFC?
I gotta go with the Chiefs on that one.
But you said that Andy Reid's teams always fall off.
They do. It's known fact. Okay, he had a great season this year.
So when are they going to fall off?
Any minute now. No, I honestly don't know.
It's like Russian roulette.
This feels like a different team all around. So I'm maybe in a certain terms, if they lose another game.
Who, the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Then they're done.
No. I'm not saying they're done. But I'm saying...
What are you saying, Jeff?
As soon as they get that next loss, if that happens, then I'll expect another. Because once they lose, I saw in their first loss to the Patriots, I'm like, okay, here comes the downhill. Because once it rains, it pours with the Andy Reid teams. And you agreed with me on this.
I agree with the history, but I don't agree that this is going to happen to this Chiefs team.
I don't think so either, to be honest. But
Chiefs is actually looking better by the week.
I'm not leaving anything out.
You know what's funny is that their defense is actually playing competent football, and if that happens, that's insane. So, okay. So beyond the Chiefs, would you take the Patriots or the Steelers at this point in the AFC?
Well, honestly, let's take a short break, and I'll answer that after this.
Sounds good.
All right.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We just finished talking about the Monday Night Football matchup between the Bills and the Patriots. And now your question to me was, Steelers or Patriots? I had to go Patriots.
Yeah, okay. It's close. I actually might lean Steelers if Gronk can't get back to his form that we know. So how about we talk a little NBA?
Sure.
So, the Warriors, we'll start there. Warriors played the Bulls last night, 149-124 win for the Warriors. Easy as you like. However, Jeff, something major happened in this game. Would you like to hear more?
Sure.
Klay Thompson has set the NBA record for most three-pointers made in a single game, 14.
Woo, congrats.
Beating his teammate Steph Curry's record, who had just had it for a few days.
Days.
Thompson finishes with 52 points. Again, like I mentioned, 14 three-pointers.
14 three-pointers.
He was 14 of 24. He shot the ball 29 times and got 52 points. That's awesome.
42 of his points were threes.
Yes.
So 8 of his points were two.
Yes. He only had 4 field goals that were not threes, yes.
Jesus, my goodness.
Yeah, so the Warriors actually scored 92 points in the first half. They had a first quarter of 44, a second quarter of 48. That's incredible, man.
Do you think that's a problem in the NBA? There's too many threes?
No. Maybe they should move the line back. What do you think? They moved it back once because it was too easy.
Maybe you should do it again. I'm not entirely sure.
Why is the college line still short?
Because they're kids still? They're like 18 years old?
The three ball is huge. Probably just as big in college, though, you know?
True. But I think that's more for like giving the other team a chance when they're facing the number one team in the nation type deal.
Yeah, it's kind of like a equalizer type thing.
But the fact of the matter is, maybe they should move it back. You may be right on that.
I think so. I think we'll see the NBA move it back too eventually. I mean, we're looking at these guys, like you said, they're shooting threes at an incredible rate. I mean, look at the Warriors. They shot 45 threes last night. They had 96.
45?
They had 96 total shots and 45 of them were threes. So half, basically. Interesting. So, incredible night for Klay Thompson. He actually got cut in the game. He had stitches. He wore a headband for the second half. It was.
He's fine.
No. It was just interesting night for Mr. Klay Thompson, as he will not be forgotten. We always talk about Curry. We always talk about KD. But now, can't forget about Klay. Maybe their best two-way player on that team. How about we move on to another critical game?
Sure. Let's move.
The Milwaukee Bucks, who are now 7-0, they beat Toronto.
Woo! Woo! One team remained undefeated. The other team, not so much.
124-109. And here's the impressive stat, Jeff. The Bucks did it without the Greek Freak. Did not play. And they won by 15. So what do you say to that?
I think it shows overall that the Bucks are better than the Raptors. Without your best player, you still beat one of the top teams in the East. But it's hard to also say, like, is this a problem with the East being not as good as the West, or is this how good the Bucks are? They can beat a Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry led team that was undefeated.
Well, it definitely helps that they're in the East. I don't think that the Bucks beat a top Western Conference team without their best player.
If the Utah Jazz were in the East, they would be the number one seed.
Possibly, I could see that.
You could say there was a lot of teams in the West, to be honest.
I think they'd be in the top 2 or 3 for sure.
That's how weak the East is. No disrespect intended. That's just a fact compared to the West and East. West is just far superior.
So, do you think the Bucks are better than the Raptors? We both had the Raptors higher than the Bucks
I might have to put the Bucks above the Raptors.
Still incredibly early, but interesting result to beat the Raptors without your star. So, let's move on to a game last night that a lot of people were focused on. The Minnesota Timberwolves 124. The Los Angeles Lakers are 120. So 124-120. The T-Wolves beat LA. Jeff, the Lakers are now 2-5.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. So
let me ask you this: is the Lakers fool's gold?
I wouldn't say that. It's a long season. They still need to gel. But it is interesting that, they have their players back. So last night, Ingram and Rondo were back. Mm-hmm. So they had a full team.
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball got the start last night for the Lakers. You want to hear his stat line?
Sure.
He played 24 minutes starting for LA, not coming off the bench. 2 assists, 1 assist, 1 rebound. 4 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist for Lonzo Ball. Rajon Rondo, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists in 32 minutes. So what do you make of that?
That's disappointing numbers.
LeBron James, 29, 10, and 7. So he led the Lakers in points, in rebounds, and was second on the team in assists behind Rondo.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he's doing it all here. Brandon Ingram, 24, 5, and 2. Kuzma also started, 19, 6, and 3. It's just been a rough go for the Lakers. They shot 36% from 3 last night.
It just seems top to bottom this team is struggling.
What concerns me is that I get it, like it'll take time for their offense to come in, but remember, they built this team to be a defensive-minded team, but they gave up 124 points last night. So
that's not very defensive-minded, is it?
No. So Jimmy Butler, again, just balling out. 32, 6, and 4. 4 of 5 of his threes. 4 of 5 from 3 in the fourth quarter to go 6 for 7 on the game. So a really nice game for Butler. Karl Anthony Towns, 25, 16, and 6. That's a game that we can expect from Towns after having some terrible performances. But anyways, the Nuggets, they beat the Pellies.
The Pellies.
116-111. Nuggets are 5-1. The Pelicans are 4-2. We saw the Sacramento Kings head out east and really put a smackdown on the Miami Heat.
They have won 3 straight.
123-113, and it really wasn't that close in the second half. The Kings scored 43 points in the third quarter to pull away in that game. But, yeah, just that team is running. They're up and down. Spoelstra said after the game that the Kings pretty much tired them out, that they like to run, but they don't like to go at that pace, and the Kings play at an incredibly high pace. So It's a different Sacramento Kings this year. They're playing incredibly fast. They had 3 players score over 20 points. Bielisa had 19, so interesting game. It looks like De'Aaron Fox might have taken that next step in his progression.
Possibly.
We look at the Blazers as they beat the Pacers 103-93.
Mm-hmm.
Big second half for Cleveland. That's a nice win on the road against a decent Indiana team. Blazers, they had 7 guys at double figures. McCollum led scoring with 17 points, but 7 guys hit double figures. Aminu, Lillard, McCollum, Swanigan, Collins, Turner, and
That's
Nick Stauskas.
pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah.
Wait, Stauskas got multiple double-digit points?
Stauskas has been balling it up.
I'm sorry, I haven't heard about that guy since he was drafted by Ron Adive.
Yeah, so 76ers. They beat the Hawks. They blow them out in Philly, 113-92. Ben Simmons, 21, 12, and 9 for the young guard. Big game for him. Philly improves to 4-3.
Good for them.
The New York Knicks, 115, Nets, 96. It's a nice win for New York as they go to 2-5. Both teams are now 2-5. Tim Hardaway Jr., 25 and 8 for the Knicks. Pretty easy, comfortable win for him. The last game of the night, we had a battle in Texas as the San Antonio Spurs. They needed overtime, but they got it done. They beat the Dallas Mavericks 113-108. DeRozan had a big game for the Spurs. DeMar DeRozan had 34 points.
DeRozan has been on a tear lately.
34.
I think because he's been on a tear is because of the fact that he got traded from a team that he loved, and he's has a big, humongous chip on his shoulder, and he's trying to make everybody pay. Basically, he's on a rampage.
So he scored 34 points last night and did not make a 3-pointer. He was basically the anti-Clay.
The anti-Clay.
But here's this. Luka Doncic, 31 points last night, 4 of 6 from 3.
He's been playing very well, too.
8 boards, 4 assists, 31, 8, and 4 for Luka. That's a really nice game for the rookie.
Yes, it is. And I think the fact of the matter is for him, he might be the rookie of the year going into the end of the season. Like, he's looking better than Ayton, in my opinion. Ayton had that one good double-double in the opener, but after that, he's been kind of lackluster.
Yeah. I think 8 and 2 is like a guy that... I think DeAndre Ayton's like more of a matchup guy. Like, I think that he'll have big games sometimes, and they can take advantage of matchups with him, but there's also games where he's not going to be able to be on the court so much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas like Luka is going to be, it doesn't matter who they're playing, it doesn't matter the style, it doesn't matter the matchup, he's going to be on the court. So, so that's the action in the NBA. So again, Klay Thompson sets the NBA record with 14 threes as the Warriors win. The Bucks without Giannis, the Greek Freak, Antetokounmpo, 124-109.
Mm-hmm.
T-Wolves, Jimmy Butler, he wins his duel with LeBron, 124-120. Nuggets 116, Pelicans 111.
Do you think LeBron's slowing down, or do you think it's his team around him?
I mean, he's putting up numbers, you know. Like, I don't think it's him. I mean, I think it's just a combination of. I'm not a huge fan of the Lakers roster, you know. Like, I just think that they have some holes. They don't shoot well from 3. It's going to be hard to win games in the Western Conference if you can't shoot over 40% from 3 every once in a while. It just is. Like, you have to play. I mean, even we're looking at the Timberwolves here, and they're not, I wouldn't even say they're one of the best offensive teams in the West, and they put up 124. I mean, it's a lot of points. And the T-Wolves shot 48% from 3, 14 and 29. So if you look at the numbers, I mean, one team is 48% from 3, the other's 36. The team that has shot 48% won by 4. So that's what it comes down to for me. You look at rebounding.
It really shows how crucial 3 points are.
You look at rebound, it's pretty much even. Timberwolves win the rebounding battle by 3, but no one's really caring about that. They won the assist battle by 2.
Like, can you imagine if these teams were like in the 50s when 3-point wasn't around? Like how much
the Lakers would be a better team than
Stephen Curry would not be as good as he is right now, or Klay Thompson. Right
and that's the thing too. I mean, the Lakers we're going to scrutinize and criticize their roster because they are the Lakers, and they decided that they were going to build it in a completely different way. They and it could work. Who knows? We will see what happens. It's still very, very early, but it will be scrutinized. It will, when they struggle, people will point it out. And if they start doing good, everybody will be like, "Oh, see, Lakers are great. They're geniuses." So,
well, I guess especially Laker fans expect greatness, expect championships because they've been used to that for so long. And as soon as LeBron signed with them, they're like, "Okay, we got another championship coming." They just expect excellence right off the bat from LeBron, which is a fair assumption because every team he goes to, they're automatically championship contenders. Mm-hmm. So the fact of the matter is, should the Laker fans be a little more patient with this process?
Yeah, I mean, they should, but it's LA.
They won't be.
It's LA. Who's patient in LA?
Well, they can just watch the Rams play. They're undefeated.
Look at the traffic. Who's patient? So.
No, well, what do you mean it's dead stop traffic. Everyone has to be patient.
Well, that's why there is traffic, because no one's patient. So, anyways, I think we need to go to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Cleveland Browns. Yep. Those Cleveland Browns. We'll talk about how they...
what other Cleveland Browns is there?
Some big changes in Cleveland.
There's no other Cleveland Browns. There's only one Cleveland Browns.
As the city of Cleveland has now fired 2 coaches in the last 2 days, Tyronn Lue and Hugh Jackson.
Oh, I thought you about and Todd Haley.
So 3 coaches.
Well, 2 of those coaches were in like an hour apart.
Maybe some of Tyronn Lue's assistants. Who knows? So we'll do that when we get back right after this.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We just finished talking about the NBA matchups that have happened over the last few days. And now we are moving on to another NFL news. As we told you yesterday, Browns coach Hugh Jackson has been fired after only 3 wins in 2+ seasons and one 0-16 campaign last year, of course. And then, not an hour later, Todd Haley, the former offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, was fired from the Cleveland Browns. So now the Browns are now out a head coach and an offensive coordinator. Their defensive coordinator has now taken the reins of the head coaching job. Do you know who that is?
No, what's his name?
Greg Williams. Do you remember? Does that sound familiar?
I do know Greg Williams. He is the orchestrator of Bounty Gate.
Yes, he is, and now he's the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, interim, but still head coach.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. I think only the Cleveland Browns could, fire their coach and then hire a PR disaster in Greg Williams. But hey, they're the Browns. They do things their own way.
Yeah, that's saying something. But I guess who else were they going to have? Basically, that's their... who else would take the reins of head coach? That's not off. You can't do the offensive coordinator. You just fired him. You got to pick a coordinator, don't you?
Yeah. We'll see what happens with them. I have a stat for you.
Go.
We talked about the Patriots in segment 1 since they played Monday Night Football. In order for Bill Belichick, follow with me here. In order for Bill Belichick to reach Hugh Jackson's career win percentage, he'd have to lose every game for the next 54 NFL seasons.
So 54 years. Isn't it like 0.088%?
It's pretty bad.
What's the actual percentage?
That I will tell you in just a moment. But yeah, so what do you think about Greg Williams being named head coach? Do you think the Browns made the right move there? Just putting a guy who orchestrated Bounty Gate was, I don't know, suspended by the NFL as your head coach to replace you?
Yeah.
You think it was a good idea?
Well, I mean, who else are you going to get?
I don't know. At this point, I'd probably just hire one of the position coaches as the interim coach, because I just feel like, okay, I get it. You need to move on from Hugh. I'm on board with that, but Greg Williams, really? I don't know. It just seems like a total Browns thing to do. But anyways,
I think the question we need to talk about is who wants this job? This head coaching job.
I think it'll be interesting in the offseason. I think it'll be a good job, actually, to get, because you have a young quarterback who looks pretty good. You got some young players there.
I'm not talking about the team. The team is talented, no doubt about it, but who wants to deal with that front office?
Well, they did change their general manager duties last year, and it seems like they kind of have their stuff figured out. I mean, I think ownership is still too heavily involved, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. It's just crazy how good the Browns are actually pretty good in a lot of key
They're
statistics.
extremely talented.
A lot of key statistics.
They have the most turnovers in the league.
They have the best quarterback rating, or they have the lowest quarterback rating against them in the past. So they have a really good they have a really good defense. So it's pretty incredible how they have not won more games. But yeah,
true. I think the fact of the matter is, they just need a new leader. Hugh Jackson was not a leader. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
He was.
They asked the Oklahoma coach Lincoln Riley if he was interested in the job, and he said no, not at this time. So I'm not sure who their shortlist will be, but I actually think it's a more of an attractive job than people will give it credit for.
No, the team is extremely attractive to get to be a leader of. Fact of the matter is, they're so used to Hugh Jackson's pushover style that whoever comes in has to not be any kind of pushover whatsoever. Has to be a stern leader. Mm-hmm. That's who wins. That's who wins games. That just shows if you want to let the players walk all over you, you're not going to win many games. You've got to show some discipline. You've got to show some initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's been named the starter for the Bucs this Sunday against Carolina. What do you think about that, Jeff? Fitzmagic over Winston.
You may sing it.
No, that's cool.
No, do it. You know you want to.
Nah, I'm good.
Okay.
But tell me what you think about this.
It's the best move for the Buccaneers, excuse me. Especially in the sense that Fitzpatrick has had some pretty good games. Like we talked about, back-to-back 400-yard games to start the season. Then you bring in Winston, who was the first overall pick. That's why you brought him back after his suspension. But then he throws 10 picks since he returned. You have to go back to what was working. The Bucs looked to be a playoff contender with Fitzpatrick. They can win with Fitzpatrick, and now with Winston, did Winston win one game?
That's a good question. I don't know. Did he? He might have won the first one he came back. Mm-hmm. But, Fitzpatrick started off really good. He had one bad half, and then they replaced him. So
he was already on a short leash as soon as Winston came back, though. We both knew that.
Is this the end for Winston as a Buccaneer?
I don't see any reason to bring him back.
Oh, yeah, Winston did win a game. They beat the the Browns in overtime last week. So he did get one win.
But my main question to that is,
So is he done? I'm sorry, I didn't get your answer.
I like I was saying before. I don't.
They can't go back to Winston now again, right?
I don't see him starting another game for them again.
Yeah, me neither. I say, you know what's crazy? Today's a trade deadline. You know that?
Mm-hmm.
The deadline's here in just a couple hours. But
and not a lot has happened, actually.
I wonder if somebody would. So I had read.
I have my phone on me, and I'm like making sure we don't miss any trades that happen.
I had read yesterday that I can't remember which NFL writer it was. I don't know if it was Schefter or Rappaport, but somebody said that the Bucs would definitely answer a phone call if a team was calling about Winston.
Yeah, but who would want to? I just don't know who would want him at the moment. But what would you give up for Winston?
Nothing.
Legitimately nothing?
I don't think he's good. Like, my problem with Winston is that he continues to make the same mistakes that he did in college. Like, the interceptions that he throws, his decision making, I don't feel is improved. He's got a great arm. He's got a great arm talent. He can be very accurate at times.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it's all upstairs for him. I think that his decision making is amongst the worst in the NFL for quarterbacks.
Well, his picks speak for themselves.
Yeah, and a lot of times if you look at those picks, if you break them down, yeah, he has bad throws. He will miss the mark, but most of them are just terrible decisions. It's not the throw. It's not the arm that's letting him down. It's the head that's letting him down. So that's my feeling.
Well,
However,
he also is the guy that got suspended for obvious criminal reasons.
Yeah. So I want to talk about one more quarterback.
Okay.
Eli Manning. Head coach Pat Shurmur, he would not commit. He would not commit to Eli starting their next game.
Don't blame him.
So it's either him or late round draft pick Ryan Lauletta.
That was a fake laugh. So who was that?
Yeah.
What college did he go to?
Lauletta?
Yeah.
You know, we talked about him a couple weeks ago.
Did we?
Yeah. We did talk about him. Kyle Lauletta. We talked about where did he go to school? I think it wasn't Richmond because you said the Spiders.
Yes. Yes.
It was.
That is correct.
It was. So, Kyle Lauletta, New York Giants. Maybe he'll get his shot. He was a 4th-round pick, so I'm not sure what to make of what's going on in New York. It just seems like it's a lost season. You might as well play him. Maybe give Eli a couple more games, though.
He's had how many? 200 or something?
200 what?
200-something games already, though?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But maybe you let him finish out the season. But I don't know. I kind of feel like you got to see what you got in Kyle Lauletta. But
all right, granted.
That's just my opinion. But, yeah. So no trades have happened this morning. Just looked at the updates here. Nothing. Sounds like the Eagles are trying to, sounds like the Steelers are trying to brew some interest in Le'Veon Bell. Mm-hmm. But we know that the Patriots are looking for a wide receiver. Apparently, they want another receiver in addition to Josh Gordon. Also, Josh Gordon was benched for the first series last night because of being tardy routinely to team activities.
That's not good. Why would you be tardy to Bill Belichick's meetings? Like, seriously.
So it sounds like Demaryius Thomas is a bigger name. I wouldn't say big name, but a bigger name. I don't
think the Broncos are going to trade him.
I think they are, but
you think so?
The Patriots are said to be very in on Demaryius. We could see
a lot of teams are, though.
We could see Demaryius. Has anybody considered the Houston Texans being a landing destination for Le'Veon Bell?
Because I feel
like that would make way too much sense.
Explain.
The Texans running back is Lamar Miller. He's not good. Mm-hmm. The Texans offense has Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins. It did have Fuller, but he's out for the year. But don't you think that would be an incredible offense? Le'Veon Bell with Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins.
The problem is when that rookie deal ends for Watson, they'll have to have 3 huge contracts for those guys.
Yeah, but that's not for 3 more years.
So you're saying
they have a 5th-year option.
They can afford those.
Year 2.
They can afford 2 huge contracts, one for Hopkins, one for Bell.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's a lot to think about. When I know it's only I know it's 3 years from now, but that's something you got to put in consideration.
You got J.J. Watt, Clowney, Bell, Watson, Hopkins.
I just don't think there's enough money for all of them.
I think there is in the short term, but what if they just
are they fighting for a championship right now? Do you think they'll risk all that for
the Texans are 5-2?
Well, I'm saying, will they risk that all for the one season?
You got to risk it to win the biscuit, my friend.
What? But they'll have to give up like a first-round pick.
But if it's a late first, are you worried about it? If it's pick 25?
A lot of good picks happen in the late first round, though.
You're right. But what if you give them a 1-year deal and then you have a chance to win the Super Bowl? Would the Texans be a Super Bowl contender with Le'Veon Bell?
Yes.
Do it. Then make the trade.
All right. Well, he has to learn that offense awfully quickly. That's
Plus,
a whole new offense.
I'm not so sure that the Steelers will... I think the Steelers will take
and
less.
Did you say today he was going to check in?
He will. After the trade deadline, he will report.
Okay. He better actually be in Pittsburgh.
I don't know if he's going to check in today because the deadline is today, so he'll be back tomorrow if it's not today. But yeah, that's what he said. He has to play, or else he has to put. If he doesn't play,
he has another week, though. You say
he technically has 1 more week. That
technically, he does have 1 more week.
Yes, he has until week 10.
So okay.
I fully expect him to be in Pittsburgh.
I didn't expect this to go on this long, to be honest.
I did.
I expected like a trade or something, like a resolution to happen by now.
Yeah, this thing had mess written all over it, but I think we need to take a quick break because when we come back, we'll wrap this thing up. We have some news and notes around the world of sports, including in the world of soccer in Europe. So we'll do that when we get back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We just talked about some news in the NFL world, free agencies, coaching, and all that good stuff. Now we're going on to more of the world of sports, and you say you have soccer news.
So Manchester City played Tottenham yesterday in a crucial English Premier League match. What was interesting about this game was that it was at Wembley Stadium, where the Eagles and the Jaguars had played the day before, so there were football lines and the NFL logo in the middle of the field, which I found very interesting. And of course, the field was all beat up.
For a Premier League game, seeing the NFL logo seems out of place.
Yeah, but Manchester City, they defeat Tottenham Hotspur 1-0, a goal by Riyad Mahrez, which was special. And the reason why that goal was special is because Mahrez was one of the members of the Leicester City team that won the title. And of course, as we mentioned yesterday on the show, Leicester City's owner and chairman passed away from that helicopter crash. So a very special moment for him, as he was the one player that played in yesterday's game that had a connection with Leicester City. So nice to see that. Nice gesture. They also did a moment of silence for the Leicester City chairman that tragically passed. But also in world soccer, Real Madrid, they are not known for being patient. And it showed again yesterday as they fire their head coach, Julian Lopetegui. He is fired after 14 games in charge of Real Madrid. Just 14 games, and he is gone. This is a guy who famously was fired 2 days before the World Cup as head coach of Spain because he took the Real Madrid job behind the back of the Spanish Federation. So, very interesting. Wouldn't you say so, Jeff?
Yeah,
He's been fired twice in the last 3 months now.
I don't think that's ever happened to anyone in the history of the world unless they're like attacking their boss. So that's truly incredible how that happens.
They're attacking their boss. I like that. Yeah. So the MLS playoffs are upon us now, as the regular season has
Major League
ended.
Soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in the playoffs?
We have some teams. We have some teams. We will first start off with DC United is number 4 seed in the East. They play against the number 5 seed Columbus Crew.
Mm-hmm.
Also in the East is the number 3 seed New York City FC, so NYCFC against number 6 Philadelphia Union. So, those are the two battles in the East. The winners will move on to the semifinals where the New York Red Bulls and Atlanta United are waiting for them.
Wonder where they got that name Red Bulls from.
Because they're owned by the owner of Red Bull.
You didn't let me finish my joke. I was going to say, did they get wings? Because Red Bull gives you wings?
Out in the West, number 4 FC Dallas will play number 5 Portland Timbers. And newcomers to the MLS, LAFC, they're the number 3 seed. They play number 6 Real Salt Lake. And of course, the winners of those matchups will be facing Sporting Kansas City, the number 1 seed, or Seattle Sounders, the number 2. So both those teams will be waiting.
Interesting.
Yes. So, MLS playoffs. Those games start tomorrow, Wednesday, Halloween. And then Thursday, the first round again.
This is Halloween. This is Halloween. Sorry.
So yeah, that's what's going on in the world of soccer. As we have some big news again. Manchester City beating Tottenham 1-0. Real Madrid fires their coach. In terms of Real Madrid, they haven't named a head coach yet.
I'm sure they have the best lined up though. It's Real
Problem
Madrid.
is that it's during the season. Coaches are taken.
They're slim. You mean I can see that.
They are a team though. When they want to go after a coach, they'll buy him out of his contract. But that hardly ever happens during the season.
Mm-hmm. Well, the fact of the matter is, this is one of those legendary teams. So if a coach gets offered this job and he's coaching another team, do you think he'll leave that team to go to them?
Not during the season. It sounds like they're going to hire Santiago Solari as the interim coach for Real Madrid. So
do you think they'll have him for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think so. I just think that there are a couple big names out there, but they're also not coaching for a reason. Like, there's a problem with all of them, right? Like, there's a reason why those guys aren't coaching the top clubs. But I think that's all we got for today, Jeff. What do you say we end this show? And we invite all of our lovely listeners to our football podcast and our basketball podcast, which will also be out today.
And tomorrow, our soccer podcast and our baseball podcast.
Yep, we'll dive into that Real Madrid saga tomorrow as well during the soccer podcast. And baseball will wrap up the 2018 season, and the World Series, of course. So we'll do that tomorrow. But thank you again for listening. And, of course, our sports podcast that you listen to every day will be out tomorrow as well.
So long, everybody.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.